Hello. My name is Michael. My job is to become a virtual assistant for Syndicate 4. Today Syndicate 4 would like to explain the scenario planning of PLN, deal with government's electrical vehicle regulation. Syndicate 4 consists of 4 members. Guys, please introduce yourself.
I'm Alifa Rahmadelia.
My name is Muhammad Nurgiri.
My name is Rafina Rahmadina.
Hi, my name is Lalu Arman.
Okay. Let's move to the content of this video. The content is divided into 2 parts, the case, and the stages. Part 1, the case. PT Perusahaan Listrik Negara, Persero, or commonly referred to as PLN, is an Indonesian state-owned company engaged in the generation, transmission, and distribution of electric power. PLN's core business is the supply of electricity, especially in generation, transmission, and distribution, obtaining the task of electrifying all over the Indonesian archipelago. PLN must increase installed capacity for power supply and the development of electricity infrastructure such as transmission networks, substations, and distribution networks. Almost everyone around the world hopes for an electric vehicle as the solution for most sustainability issues. Not only it is better for the environment, but electric vehicles could also be a more affordable alternative for consumers who need mobility daily. Over 16.5 million electric cars were on the road in 2021, a tripling in just 3 years. In 2019, the government issued Presidential Decree 55 of 2019 concerning the acceleration of battery-based electric motor vehicles. The presidential decree stated that the achievement targets for electric car production are 2,200 and 2.1 million electric motorbikes by 2025. It is an ambitious target to achieve, considering that currently the electric vehicle ecosystem in Indonesia still needs a lot of development. Therefore, the presidential decree assigned PLN to be the first company responsible for providing electricity charging infrastructure for electric vehicles in Indonesia. This responsibility is becoming a challenge but also a huge opportunity for PLN to seize the market by not only providing service point, but also helping customers who prefer private power installation for their electric vehicles. In Part 2, we will explain how the scenario planning of PLN with a future time landscape of 10 years to provide the customer needs of electric vehicle users. The scenario planning will be explained into 5 stages, consisting of 1. Orientation, 2. Exploration, 3. Scenarios and narrative creation, 4. Option consideration, and 5. Integration. The explanation in each stage will be delivered by Syndicate 4 members. So, please, the stage is yours.
Okay, so for the next one is stage 1, orientation. Is it about the key focal issue on how electric vehicle regulation affecting the electricity industry, especially PT PLN in the next 10 years. So one of the key focal issue for PT PLN is in their deal with the Indonesian government electrical vehicle regulation is the successful implementation of EV charging infrastructure. As the government aims to increase the number of electric vehicles on the roads, is it critical that there are enough charging stations available to support them? PT PLN's target of installing at least 3,000 charging stations by 2025 is a significant undertaking that will require substantial investment and logistical planning. And now is for the stage 2, exploration. The implementation of electric vehicle regulation is driven by a combination of organizational, transactional, and contextual factors. Organizational driving forces, including the increasing demand for sustainable energy solutions and the need for energy companies like PT PLN to adapt to the changing needs of consumers. Transactional driving forces include the development of the new technologies and the evolution of the automotive industry. Contextual driving forces, including government regulation and policies aimed at reducing carbon emission and promoting sustainable transportation. In conclusion, The implementation of the electric vehicle regulation is driven by a combination of organizational, transactional, and contextual factors. These driving forces are creating new opportunities for energy companies like PT PLN to invest in EV charging infrastructure and renewable energy sources to support the growing demand for sustainable transportation. Now, we can look at the table as shown in the image. As we can see on the image that the customer demands and politics and economic situation have high uncertainty and high impact on the PT PLN deal with the government electrical vehicle regulation due to several factors. The first one is the customer demands. Customer demand for electric vehicle are constantly evolving and can be affected by various factors, including consumer preferences, technological advancement, and government policies. The uncertainty in customer demand can create a challenge for PLN in planning for future infrastructure requirements, such as the need for the charging station and meeting the electricity demand of an increasing number of EVs. The second one is politics. Politics can play a significant role in shaping the regulatory environment for EVs. Change in government policy and regulation can impact the adoption rate of EVs, which in turn can impact the demand of electricity, the need for the infrastructure investment. Additionally, change in government leadership or political instability can create uncertainty around policy continuity, making it difficult for PLN to plan for the long term. And the third one is the economic situation. The economic situation of a country can also have a significant impact on the adoption rate of EVs. For example, during times of economic downturn, consumers may be less likely to purchase the more expensive EVs, leading to slower adoption rates. Additionally, economic condition can impact the availability of funding or infrastructure investment and subsidies for EVs.
In the third stage, we try to develop plausible and internally consistent scenarios that describe different ways the future environment may evolve based on the driving forces identified in the previous stage. We use two main factors to make the scenarios quadrant. First, politics and economic situations, and second, customer demand. The first quadrant is when the political and economic situation is good and the customer demand is high. We call the scenario as ideal conditions. This scenario can happen because of several conditions, such as 1. Fair industry development toward electricity-based fuel. 2. Electrical ecosystem has been created. 3. No impact issue on environmental. The second quadrant is when the political and economic situation is bad, but customer demand is high. We call the scenario as challenging situation. This scenario can happen because of several conditions, such as 1. Even if demand is high, but in bad political and economic situations, maybe people purchasing power will be low. 2. Major political events such presidential election may cause regulation change and the effect of the EV industry. 3. Imbalanced stakeholder availability. The third quadrant is when the political and economic situation is good, but customer demand is low. We call the scenario as no excitement. This scenario can happen because of several conditions, such as 1. Shift in renewable energy. 2. EV price is much higher than a conventional vehicle. And 3. Durability issues of EV. The fourth quadrant is when the political and economic situation is bad and also customer demand is low. We call this scenario as bad conditions. This scenario can happen because of several conditions, such as 1. Pandemic situation So, the economic situation is bad and people prefer to spend their money on basic needs. 2. Bad situation will drive people to purchase the cheapest options. And the third, critics that electricity harms the environment, such as biodiversity, air pollution, and decreased freshwater supply. The next stage will be explained by Rafina Rahmadina.
Thank you, Mas Giri, for the explanation. Now, we are going to continue the analysis to the third stage, where we discuss the implication and the corresponding option for each scenario. For the first quadrant of ideal condition, the implication from the scenario is PT PLN might be challenged in meeting the high demand from consumers. The high demand will impact the company, so it will require more employee and point service. Even when this scenario is pretty challenging, there are various options that PT PLN could take to deal with this scenario. For example, they can expand the business by improving human capital resource and increase their electricity price. It is also very important for PT PLN to find and leverage investment opportunity in this good political and economic condition. Now, the second quadrant of a challenging condition, where the implication from this scenario is PT PLN might face uncertainty in electricity sales that could be high or low due to the demand, due to the economic situation. The impact from this scenario will also be unproductive for PT PLN because it will be harder to expand the business in a bad equipol situation. To face this implication, PT PLN could try to lower the price and increase resource management. Third quadrant is no excitement situation that will impact PT PLN by decreasing their revenue because customer demand is shifting to other renewable energy sources. The option PT PLN could take when facing this scenario is by doing product innovation so they could still meet customer demand. PT PLN could also try to expand their product line to cover other renewable energy demand if possible. Finally, PT PLN could focus more on the B2B business to provide electric charging station for other business. The last fourth quadrant is the bad condition scenario that might impact PT PLN by declining their electricity sale. This implication could further impact PT PLN by pushing them to do employee layoff. This scenario could also impact it on an uncompetitive market. Various options that PT PLN could take is boosting their promotion to help increase customer demand or train employees to have skills related to electric vehicle. The next stage of early warning sign will be presented by Alifa Rahmadelia.
This is Alifa speaking. Rahma has explained well about implication that will arise and an opportunity or option that we can take to solve. The last step is integration. As described before, we have to identify leading indicators of the emergence of one scenario or another. We started from a positive side or something that we want, an ideal condition scenario when market demand meets the political and economic situation. The first sign is electric vehicle investment in infrastructure growing fast. This because we assume that market have already formed and market started to trust electrical vehicle. Then business in electrical vehicle related start to seem interactive. Another sign is many new stakeholders related to electrical vehicle come to Indonesia, such as electrical vehicle manufacturer, battery manufacturer, etc. This also because ecosystem of electrical vehicle has been formed, so beside investment, stakeholders also enliven the business. Take an example of Hyundai, an electrical car manufacturer from South Korea who decide to build their manufacture in Indonesia, or Tesla, who interested in our natural resource of nickel, a basic material for battery. We move down into a challenging scenario, a scenario with high market demand but low political and economic situation. There's uncertainty we will face that electrical vehicle will be outdated. The technology will be continue to innovate. Imagine there will be flying vehicles. The electrical vehicle then not will be a trend for common society, only for niche market. Then the regulation also not support electrical vehicles anymore, so tax of electrical vehicle will be increased because electrical vehicles business lose their attractiveness. Now we will move to lower customer demand side with good political and economic situation, which is generates no excitement scenario. The early warning sign can be identified like simulation to penetrate customer demand. Government try to introduce another renewable energy to replace electrical vehicle. Another sign is decreasing number of electrical vehicle sales number and customers. Then finally, we come to the worst scenario where market political, either economic situation, not good or bad conditions. Scenario. Assume there will be no supporting regulations to penetrate electric vehicles business and ecosystem. Then there will be sign of insufficient infrastructure, a high disappointment rate from electrical vehicles user. So I would like to conclude all of our findings toward issue of electrical vehicle impact on PT PLN Persero. There are three major driving forces of the issue, which we find around 15 factors. Then we place the factors into graphic to see two factors that has big impact and uncertainty level. From 15 factors, we get customer demand and political and economic situation. Then both the factors we place into quadrant to imagine 4 scenarios based on metrics. From 4 possible scenarios, then we can also assume impacts of the scenario and option, an opportunity for PT PLN to take advantage of the implication. Last, after we assuming all scenarios, we then can be cautious of all scenarios by determining early warning signs of each scenario.
Okay. That's all from us. Last but not least,
Thank you!